this NEOs. It's a Beretta 22 target pistol, and we're going to look into doing a trigger job on this. That's what we're going to do. We got the magazine out. This is your slide lock. Pull your slide back. And then you see here that button right there gets pressed in, and then you unscrew your barrel nut. That's that one right there. It's going to be a little bit cantankerous. And so we'll give it a little help along. What I did was I just took this little brass punch and just got the edge of it into one of these veins here, one of the little bitty slots that you can see, and just give it a little tap to get it started. This has to be pressed in, and you can see it's spinning now. Quite there. There we go. There's your barrel nut right in there. It's captivated. This is your barrel assembly. It's a pretty nice setup because these barrels can be changed quite quickly, as you see. Of course, this one, the gentleman's got a laser and a red dot sight. Nothing wrong with that. It works. I mean, I think it makes sense to mount stuff like that on this gun. It's just a plinking gun. See, I really like the way this gun feels. The grip, size, and everything. Not much place to get your thumbs for a forward grip like you're used to. But this part here, man, that feels really good, especially in a thumbs forward setup. That feels good. I mean, this gun could be expanded on to really make, or this grip could really make a good setup for a higher powered firearm. So next, we're going to lower that down and let our slide go all the way forward. We'll take our recoil spring out and off. Next part we're going to do with your safety in the fire position. You're going to grab a hold of your firing pin, spring, and everything. Hold tension on it and pull the trigger. It's going to release this. Make sure you have a good grip on it. That is your firing pin spring. And there is your firing pin. It's a big sucker. And here's our extractor. We'll get to that later. The next step, right down here in the base, is an Allen key bolt. It is a 5mm is what the size is. Just so you know. If you've got a standard, or if your wrench does not quite fit it, that's because your wrench doesn't quite fit it. It needs to be a 5mm. Turn it over, that will come out. Set it to the side. Now, your lower, your mid section will separate. It'll lift up and out of there. And whenever you lift up on the back of the receiver here, that's going to allow that to go ahead and come out. Gotta be careful when these guns haven't been apart. You know, sometimes it takes a little bit. You see the angle that it comes out of there? It has to get past that notch. And what I was trying not to do was just grab it and twist, because this here is the only thing that's holding that on there. So that's why I was making sure to hold it here to give that support. Make sure you do that. This is your lower, and it's down pretty much as far as it'll go. Or this is your grip, not your lower. This is your grip. This is your lower. For our magazine release, there is a spring in here. And hold your finger there and lift it up where it can spin, and then out. Spring there. When you go to put this back in, it's got to go in like that, and then it's got to wind and preload that spring to get it back on there. This next screw here, this one happens to be an Allen key that's down in here. Sometimes it is a specially ground flathead with a real wide gap. I just took a Allen key wrench, the proper one, and attempted to loosen it up. I tried a few tricks to get it to break loose, and it didn't. It stripped out. So what I've done is I have taken the next size up Allen key. This is actually, since I stripped that out just a little bit, and it didn't loosen at all, so it's, you know, we can always turn around and just, you know, circle our wagons if we had to. But either way, what I've done is I've taken this and I have hammered this down in there to force it. And we're going to attempt, last-ditch effort, to get the impact driver to remove this. Sometimes the impact driver will work. It's a good idea to start easy. Nope. Not gonna do it, but that's fine. What we'll do is we'll drill that screw out. Since it's an Allen, it's got a perfect centering hole where it'll be very easy to drill that out, and then once we pull that off, we'll be able to get the pliers on there to get the rest of it out, and we'll just replace it. No big deal. Since we know that now we are going to have to drill that, we're going to remove our safety lever. It is ambidextrous. On the right hand side, you'll need to take a scribe or something and push in. There's a detent in there. You're going to push in, and that is going to allow this to slide forward. So what I'm going to do, while I'm holding it this side, I'll push that down slide it forward. There we go. See it there? Now, you've got to be careful because as I lift this up, it's fine and well, but as soon as this lever slides past there and exposes that detent that was underneath that hole, it can go flying out. So you got to make sure that as you slide it forward, that you've got it covered. Might have been a little easier if I had aimed that down. There we go. There's our detent. And actually, you saw me slip there. That could have ended up in a lost detent, but thank God the spring wasn't strong enough to launch that detent too far. Put those over there. There's the right-hand safety lever. Let's see, got our safety lever here. Now, for the next side of our safety here, this has got a detent, a fairly good sized detent spring inside of it that's responsible for giving it that good click. So, when we get rid of it, we got to make sure that we have everything contained as good as possible, and make sure that in there. Here we've got everything chucked up into our drill press. Over here I've got a large piece of brass that is surrounding the remaining safety lever, and then the washer on your left hand side here as we look that you see down there, that is actually surrounding the nub of the other side of the safety lever. See, I got the lasers on to line everything up, and we'll drill that head out. In good shape. There you can see that there. Let me turn the lasers off. See if I can shine a little bit more light down in there. And you can see that it's just centered. Now see, you can see the edge of the screw itself. And that Allen key hole gives a good place to do the centering. So we're just going to drill until that head just basically pops off of the threaded part of the screw. Most likely the head will stay onto the drill bit and ride it back up whenever I come out of there. Woo. That noise in my drill press is my belt shroud. I've got to get that thing straightened up. It got bumped when we were moving it in. just like what I said. And that my friends, is the head of that bolt or screw. Alright, now obviously we've got some metal shavings and stuff we'll have to clean up, but now that that's off, we'll act like I just unscrewed that. This unit will lift up and out. Whenever that happens, this is under spring tension from this spring up here. And just let that trigger spring and steer spring and everything, that just go forward. And you see right there, that is that's the rest of that screw that's left over. And they use a good bit of red Loctite on that from the factory. You can still see the red Loctite on this section of it down here where it oozed out. Good bit of metal and everything there. Now that is responsible for keeping the safety in. So we're going to pick that plunger up. Got a lot of metal on it, that's fine, we'll clean it off. This spring, and I'm kind of bending it to the side a little bit so I can lift this plunger up as well. You could just turn it over, but either way, that's two pieces there. Now, this should come out. Now, notice I've got this captured down here. When you pull that out, underneath there, you're going to have, right there, you can see that hole. You've got another tiny detent and spring that are down in there. Turn my plate over here, get a little bit more support. We're going to drive out this pin that's right down in here, and it is for the magazine release from the magazine catch. Get you guys in the light there, you can see it down in there. This indentation allows us to get a punch down to it. It's going to drive out right down here by the trigger. Roll pin. Hold your hand on the release and press it in. It's going to relieve the pressure off of your punch, and you can slowly let the release out. There's going to be a spring in there. Got your release lever. There's your spring. And be careful not to stretch these when you go to remove them. If you just grab them at the top and pull, you're liable to tear them up. There we go. Now, we've got our trigger retention pin. I choose to drive from this side in, because this side down in there is hidden when the gun's together. If I drive it from that side that shows. So I prefer to drive the other way. That way if something did slip or whatever, it's going to be hidden. And I'm not worried about hiding it from an owner or something like that. I'm just thinking about the aesthetics of it. So that punch is a little oversized. I just wanted to get it started. And now I'll go over here. These are roll pin specific punches. This stuff takes taps. It does not take hammer blows. Okay, now before I go any farther, I'm going to get the other roll pin, the one that I just got out that was for the magazine catch, and I'm going to compare. The longer one is for the trigger. The shorter one is for the magazine catch. Trigger exit from the top. It's under a little bit of spring tension, so I recommend you grab it down here at it. Once you get to here, you can go ahead and lift your trigger bar up and off of there. That's where your spring tension was coming from. I'll pay close attention to the way that spring is on there. Right there you can see where it notches in there. And there's our trigger bar. Back to the trigger, get it out. Pretty straightforward and simple. Remove our ejector. Again, I'm going to choose to go from our left side to the right. This is where the big screw from the bottom that holds everything together attaches. This is the longest roll pin we've dealt with so far. Now we're going to remove the remnants of this bolt head. With a good pair of pliers, you want to get a hold of it with, if you need to put like a little piece of cardboard right down here or something just to space it a little bit, because you don't want to scratch what you're dealing with there. You don't want to scratch your gun. I can't explain to you how tight I'm squeezing these pliers. You can't afford to lollygag around when you're doing this, and I don't like vice grips for this either, because you don't have a feel on what's going on. If you nibble at it, you'll round it off, and the only way to get it out will be to continue to drill it or to weld something onto the nub where you can then twist it out. So this part is vital that you have a good pair of pliers and you don't mess around with it. You get a hold of it and you do what needs to be done. See how that's kind of wanting to round up a little. There we go. Man, they used copious amounts of red Loctite on this screw. Good Lord, it's no wonder. And blue. Don't you look at that? They use blue and red Loctite on that. Why in the world would they do that? Next step, we're gonna knock out this rear safety block. Just get you some brass, whatever. And just tap it. Push it on through. There's your rear sear block and safety block, whatever you want to call it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to blow that out, blow both of these out. Now we're going to disassemble this lock here with a proper screwdriver. It's ground properly. You're going to loosen this up. It's got a little bit of Loctite on it, so first time you go to snap it, it's not going to want to come. Make sure you got the right screwdriver. Thread those together. No reason not to. Not going to be changing any of that. Now, our frame is completely stripped, except for the serial number. And we got two basic things left to do here. We're going to remove our extractor. And we're going to get our sear pin out. They say this is the hardest thing of the entire gun to do. I've not pulled one of these yet. It'll be fun. Get this extractor out. See down in here you've got, get my scribe cleaned off there. You've got your detent plunger and your extractor. What you gotta do is get that detent plunger back off of the extractor so you can lift it up and out of the way. Just gotta get that detent out of its way. There we go. Just like that. Had to get it to the right angle. What was happening was my scribe was still in the way of the extractor. It was on top of it, wasn't letting it come up all the way, so I had to get it at more of an angle so it would slide past it. There is the detent and its spring. Another piece, we're going to leave that on there for now. And if you notice, I don't know if you can see with all the grease, yeah you can. See how it's got a notch on it, a flat spot there? That actually goes inboard. The round part faces out to where you can see it. that notch part goes onto the extractor. You can see here, this has got two distinct sides. And what we're looking at is where that pin is right there. I'm going to flip it over here. I want you to see the other side. See how that side looks kind of flat? Well, if you look at that side actually is splined, which means that it'd be a cold day in hell if you knock this pin through from this side through to the other side. This side here is actually tapered. You have to start hammering from the tapered side this way. Turn it this way. I don't really want to I don't want to clamp this in the vise unless I have to. So I'm going to start this, or at least try to, just like this. A lot of people talk about how hard it is to do this. I say they just didn't know what they were doing. Now with the punch still in there, I'm going to take this and see if I can get it to focus for you. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Focus, focus, focus. Focus, hocus pocus, right? Jeez, there we go. That side there is splined. Here, I'll just bring it back where I can get right in front of the camera. There we go. Doggone it. I apologize. See, you've got this side over here splined, this side here smooth. And basically the final operation, we're going to remove the sear. Just pull it out of there by hand.